I have the pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Joao Manuel Goncalves Lourenço, President of Angola. You have the floor, Your Excellency.
Sua Excelência, Sua Alteza Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Chefe de Estado dos Emirados
Your Excellency, Your Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, Your Excellency Dr. Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber, President of COP28, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Mr. Simon Steele, Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC, dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen.
Com a mais elevada honra que me dirijo às distintas delegações presentes.
I address the various delegations present at this 28th COP, seeing this as a great honor to be able to speak before you all. And I would like to begin by conveying our thanks to the government of the United Arab Emirates for the very cordial welcome they have accorded to me since my arrival in the city of Dubai. I would like to highlight first and foremost the excellent working conditions for this event, which are particularly important given that we will be carrying out our first global stocktake of the Paris Agreement, which will be an opportunity to evaluate the impact of the policies that we have been implementing jointly and individually as countries, all with the aim of achieving the objective of mitigating the serious consequences of climate change that continue to ravage our planet. It is, I think, abundantly clear that our countries, as a result of climate change, are amongst the most affected. And this is particularly true because climate change has a particularly adverse impact on our people, on their daily lives, on their livelihood, their productive activity, their mobility, indeed their quality of life writ large. President, Excellencies, tackling the issue of climate change is one of the key priorities in all sustainable development programs and strategies in the Republic of Angola. For us, it is a critical concern and one that deserves special attention, always with the aim of strengthening our resilience to the effects of climate change, effects which have already seriously impacted the Angolan people in their daily lives, and which also threaten to destroy, indeed further destroy, ecosystems of different species in various regions of our country. When tackling all climate change-related issues, we do so with great resolve and determination, as reflected in our National Strategy for Climate Change 2035, which enshrines various initiatives and visions which are duly aligned with the African Union's 2063 agenda, as well as with the United Nations' own Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. I want to highlight just how committed we are to renewable energy, which represents one of the main pillars of mitigation for climate change and constitutes a decisive step that we're taking in Angola as part of the energy transition process. We are committed to changing our national energy matrix, prioritizing clean energy production sources. And we're doing this through, inter alia, the construction of hydroelectric plants and solar panel parks, which means that more than 65% of the current 6,400 megawatts of energy produced in the country now come from ecological sources, sources that are environmentally friendly. We also have an ongoing program to extend and renovate the national energy transmission network, moving away from the main productions to extend the current offer from the main production sources located in the eastern and southern provinces of the country. So in order to ensure that over the next 4 years we will discontinue the use of thermal power plants that still provide provide energy and power to some parts of our national territory.
Fósseis,
Moving away from these thermal and coal-fired power plants will represent not only a large financial saving, but also a major environmental benefit with significant reduction in the burning of fossil fuels for the generation of electrical energy.
lado ao país aumento
We are also building new and, where necessary, expanding and renovating old hydroelectric dams, which have provided the country with a significant boost in its electrical energy production capacity, and also have generated a surplus that can meet the needs of neighboring countries in the SADC region.
nacional da barreira
This capacity will be first boosted with the completion of the hydroelectric development in Kakulo Kabasa and the beginning of works on the national project in the Kunune River, the Bainas hydroelectric dam that will serve both Angola and Namibia.
temos que dedicar uma atenção muito
Within the context of efforts we have pursued to significantly increase our renewable energy production capacity, we've been paying particular attention to the implementation of solar panel projects in some regions and areas of our country. This has resulted in a huge reduction in annual consumption of diesel,
satisfação
contributing to mitigating the effects of pollution whilst also meeting the energy needs of the populations living in those locations.
produção de hidrogênio
By the same token, I want to emphasize other projects, in particular the production of green hydrogen and its derivatives, a project that will begin next year, 2024.
carbono e do gás
We're also working on projects to reduce carbon dioxide and methane emissions in the oil industry.
temperatura global
All of this represents a further contribution by Angola to the fight to reduce the increase in global temperatures, which affect our whole planet on an increasing basis. Angola was the victim of severe drought in the south of the country, with devastating impact on the lives of the people living in the south and on animal life as well.
do nosso planeta.
This is a phenomenon which occurs cyclically in the south of Angola and in other parts of our planet, and it demonstrates the urgent need for action to prevent disasters of varying dimensions in the future
De gases de
through measures to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases,
estável e seguro
all intended to ensure a more habitable and safe planet for future generations.
Angola teve que procurar
Due to the consequences of climate change,
para
Angola had to seek urgent endogenous homegrown solutions to save entire populations from the effects of drought. And it has done so by investing several $1 million in the construction of a 165-kilometer-long canal in the Kafu region
uma infraestrutura que permitiu resolver
in the province of Kunune, an infrastructure project that made it possible to solve the serious problems that previously existed in that region
a familiar
and helped create simultaneously new opportunities for the development of household or subsistence farming, which in turn has influenced improvements in the nutritional situation with beneficial effects for public health and the well-being of Angolans living in that area.
a ser construídos na mesma província, estando projetada a construção de 6
Two other large-scale projects are being built in the same province in Ndue and Kalukuve.
programas
And a further 6 large water dam projects are planned in the Namibe province. All of this is part of the wider program to combat the effects of drought in southern Angola, the most affected region
nacionais e
in the
estrangeiras.
country.
Ambicioso
Working together with national and foreign environmental organizations, we're rolling out an ambitious environmental education program aimed mainly at children,
organizações, estamos a
studying in university and at school, and young people writ large.
de plantação
We have been working with some success with similar national and foreign partner organizations on a project to plant
angolana. Nesta luta contra as consequências nefastas
millions of mangrove seedlings for the recovery and preservation of mangroves along the vast Angolan sea coast.
houver sistema de apoio às informações de alerta,
In
aviso,
this fight against the harmful consequences of climate change, we have been able to enjoy the support of major international partners with whom we've worked closely to develop an early warning system for the aforementioned phenomena in Angola,
de diferentes soluções. Isso
and also to protect ourselves more effectively against the problems and issues that I sketched out earlier.
as medidas que o governo angolano
This has also allowed us to put together a toolkit of tailored solutions that can be deployed as appropriate. Your Excellencies, as part of the broad package of measures that the Angolan government has been taking to improve
para a preservação do
the
ambiente,
mechanisms available to it,
Espacial Nacional de Angola, A iniciativa que
With the aim of playing a key role in the context of global efforts to preserve the environment, I would point to Angola's National Space Strategy 2016-2025. This comprises an Earth observation satellite network that is being negotiated with
de exploração ilegal de
the
madeira,
European consortium Airbus.
manadas
It will serve as a vehicle for the detection and mapping of oil spills at sea, the provision of data on deforestation and areas of illegal logging, tracking wildlife herds in the main national parks and environmental reserves, and monitoring compliance with environmental standards in mining activities.
destinada a dar
We hope to be able to roll out the project imminently. It's a project that will include a technological solution designed to support monitoring compliance with the indicators of the 17
Consideramos
SDGs.
nesta COP28
We're of the view that it's important that at COP28,
de modo que sejam
we put together a roadmap
de Glasgow
detailing the steps that need to be taken going forwards so that the commitments made at COP26 in Glasgow are honoured, including the goal of doubling financing for adaptation measures by 2025.
para o período pós-2025, deverá ser tomado em consideração todo conjunto de fatores que não
When
fragilizem as economias
negotiating to establish a new climate financing objective for the period post-2025, a whole set of factors will have to be taken into account to ensure that we do not weaken or slow down the economies of developing countries,
petróleo,
recognizing that they cannot move away overnight from their reliance on natural resources, namely oil, which is the main sources of income on which they currently rely to ensure their survival, their economic and social development. May I take this opportunity to highlight that Angola has submitted to the UNFCCC in 2015 its first NDC
mantendo com a
detailing steps to be taken to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
redução das emissões de gases
We set a goal of a 35% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030.
à margem
We continue to
das iniciativas das
stick to this target, subject to meeting the necessary funding, of course. On the sidelines of this climate summit, Angola will join initiatives by the United Nations and other specialized international organizations on the decarbonization of the oil and gas industry, as well as initiatives on measuring and reducing emissions of polluting gases such as carbon dioxide and methane gas,
contra
setting ambitious targets in these initiatives as part of humanity's battle against climate change.
as
Your Excellencies,
da organização
in Luanda, in December of last year, we hosted the summit of heads of state and of government of the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States, the OACPS,
da organização
during which summit I took over the chairmanship of the organization.
climáticas, tendo em conta que uma boa parte dos países
This organization, amongst its many activities, focuses on tackling climate change, bearing in mind that many of the countries that make up the OACPS are particularly exposed to, are particularly vulnerable to this phenomenon and the serious consequences that derive from it, such as the alarming rise in sea level, which threatens to make some Pacific and Caribbean islands disappear from the map.
regiões do
I
mundo,
also wish
recursos financeiros
to highlight just how important it is to the countries from these regions that financial resources be adequately
desta COP28,
allocated to climate action.
financiamento necessário para a realização
It is therefore important that during this COP28, we were able to determine the framework for a new agreement for necessary financing to tackle climate change and for climate action.
fundo de perdas e danos, pela grande relevância que tem para este grupo de países.
In other words, we're delighted that the Loss and Damage Fund was finally adopted at this COP28. This mechanism has particular relevance for the group of countries that I mentioned earlier, the OACPS, that are among the most vulnerable to climate change. I'd also like to emphasize the member states of the OACPS hope that at COP28 a new financial architecture for the climate can be established, one
Dado cumprimento
in which climate justice should be seen as one of the core pillars. We highlight the need to deliver on the repeated promises of financial contributions and pledges, as well as access to financing under favorable conditions
menos desenvolvidos,
for less industrialized and less developed countries, with a particular emphasis on small island states
resultantes
who are most threatened by climate change and the related phenomena.
das nações do mundo. para as questões que se
I believe that the growing sensitivity of the peoples and nations of the world to climate-related issues can spur this COP28 to act in greater solidarity
COP28
so that the goals recommended both at this COP as well as in previous ones
determinação
can be addressed with greater commitment and with greater determination.
próprios
We can double our efforts to strive towards same so that they can be achieved within the deadlines that we set for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency.